G'day all, welcome back to Built by Chris. It's been about a month since my last video, and that's because it's been a bit cold down here in Melbourne. I didn't fancy sitting out in the garage for too long. In this episode, I'm going to build a mobile trolley for my compound sliding miter saw. Now, as you all know, I've got a fairly small workshop and I need to put everything on wheels. The compound sliding miter saw is heavy and I've just been moving it from place to place. And now that I've built the trolley, it's easy because I can just wheel it around the workshop to wherever I want it. Now, a lot of you might think that the trolley that I've built is a little bit of overkill, but with every workshop thing I want to build, I try to teach myself some new skills. Now, my welding skills were never the best to begin with, but having a good MIG welder and the gas bottle has certainly helped, and I thought this would be a good way to practice on my welding. So without further ado, let's go and see how I put this thing together. Here I'm just cutting down the pieces for the frame of the mobile cart. Just trying out 45-degree angles this time. I've never done these before, so I thought I'd give them a go. Just fitting all the pieces together now for the top of the frame, and they look to be fitting together really nicely. What I'm cutting here now are the pieces for the support wings. They're going to fold up so that when I'm cutting something long, it'll have support on both sides. Just cleaning up all the pieces now, taking all the scale and a little bit of rust off them so they're nice and clean, ready for welding. And here are all the pieces nicely laid out. Time for a little bit of welding. Just putting everything into the jig that's going to hold everything nice and square for me. I'm putting a leg on here and just one corner of the bench. Just throwing some tacks on there now, getting ready to weld everything up. With the jig holding everything in place for me, it's a real easy job just to tack everything up and then throw a decent weld on there. Everything's nice and square, comes out beautiful. Last leg and corner of going on now. Just again throw a few tacks on just to make sure nothing moves, and then throwing in the welds. Here I'm welding in the supports for the bottom shelf. Again, same process, couple of tacks first, make sure nothing moves, check everything's square, and then throw in the welds. Here I'm throwing in the pieces of the wings into the jig and getting them ready to weld up so I can get them onto the cart as well. And again, more of the same. Welding I've found is a little bit repetitious. Just throw in your tacks first, make sure everything's square, and then weld out the joints. With every weld that I'm throwing down, I seem to be getting a little bit better. Which was the main aim for making this cart, is just making my welding skills a little bit better. Here I'm just putting on the hinges for the second wing. As you can see on the other side, the first wing's already on. And I'm just getting it ready now to put all the timber on. Here I'm just marking out the plywood that's going to make up the top shelf, the bottom shelf, and the two side wings and all the fences that I'll be putting on there as well. Here I'm just notching out the corners for the bottom shelf. Here I'm just getting all the pieces ready for the supports, the main supports, and two side fences that will be going on either side of the compound miter saw. The glue I'm using here is the melamine glue. Because this is form ply, stuff they use to make forms with when they're pouring concrete into, I thought this glue would be the best suited for the job. This job's a little bit fiddly because I've got to make sure everything's nice and square, nice and straight. Otherwise, when I start to cut timber on the miter saw, everything's going to be out of square or out of whack. So I've got to make sure everything's 100% perfect here. And because I'm using plywood, I have to pre-drill everything. Otherwise, if I just drive a screw straight into it, the ply is just going to separate, and it's not going to be, there won't be any strength to it at all, even though I'm putting glue on there. Time to attach the assembly to the wing. Make sure everything again is pre-drilled so nothing splits, and then I'll drive screws in there, make sure everything's nice and tight. Here I'm putting on my extra long spirit level, clamping it all to the main fence on the drop saw so that everything lines up, everything's nice and perfect. I'm just driving in the last of the screws here, and something I did off camera is pulled all the timber off it, sprayed the frame black just to make it all look nice and pretty, and then it was ready to go. And there you have it, one mobile cart for a compound sliding miter saw. Certainly going to make life a lot easier in the workshop now, not having to pick the thing up and move it around all the time. If you think that some of my techniques weren't what they're supposed to be, or I could have done something a little bit different, please leave a comment down below. I'll certainly reply to all comments. And with that, thanks for watching. See you all next time. Bye for now.